Today on September 7th, 2025, we're going to be going over the latest information we have on Hurricane Kiko, and then we're going to look at the overall pattern for the next week or two across the continental U.S. So as of the latest update today, this evening on Sunday, we have Category 2 Hurricane Kiko out here into the Pacific Ocean, and so Kiko is expected to travel just north of the Hawaiian Islands, but the chance of direct impacts are lowering quite a bit as we have went throughout this weekend. And so I do believe that some of these areas in the Hawaiian Islands could see some rain bands as we get further into the week from the storm, and some pretty low winds as well from the system, but nothing too significant. I think the most significant thing that will be felt in the Hawaiian Islands will be the swell and the higher waves out here as we get into Monday and Tuesday into some of the eastern facing areas of the islands. If we take a look at the GFS weather model, as we get into tomorrow on Monday, there is Hurricane Kiko, and by this point should be a low-wind hurricane or tropical storm, maybe sometime by tomorrow. And then as we get into Tuesday as well, some rain bands may be affecting some of the islands, but there will be very weak, if they even are still affecting some of these areas. But as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, the storm is slowly moving westward and eventually gets further north and weakens a good bit. And then by Thursday, the storm should be well out of the area. So what does our overall pattern look like for the next week and a half? So starting out today on Sunday, you can see a good bit of rain and precipitation across the southern and southeastern U.S. as we get into tomorrow on Monday, and then eventually into Tuesday and Wednesday. Not a whole lot besides some storm coverage across the central U.S. Tomorrow, maybe a low and severe risk there across the central U.S. in some areas. As we get into Tuesday as well, we have some storms and just some rain overall getting up into the Midwest and around the Great Lakes states as we get into Wednesday, and some rain out here into the Pacific Northwest, but mainly the portions of the West Coast as we get into Wednesday, Thursday. And as we get into, I'll back this up a little bit here, as we get into Wednesday and then Thursday, the GFS wants to show a little bit of a spin off the coast of the kind of southeast and mid-Atlantic as we get to potentially Wednesday and Thursday. And it wants to show this area getting kind of developed into a low wind tropical system. So we're going to have to continue to watch this area. I don't have high certainty as to what's going to happen with this area, but I do think it's worth watching as we get later this week into maybe Thursday, Friday, that time frame. But I don't believe we'll see anything significant out of this. If anything, it'll be maybe some rain and storms across maybe southern New England, if that. So we'll continue to watch that as we get further into this week, but that will potentially move out if it does develop maybe by Thursday, Friday, late Thursday into Friday. And then if we look at the central U.S. again this weekend, we could see another little storm system here that would probably bring some more severe weather across some of these areas if there's some moisture getting pushed up into the central U.S. But overall, things are going to be pretty quiet across the southeast and eastern U.S. I think the areas that could see the most rain, precipitation over the next week will be mainly in the central and potentially western U.S. As we get to Monday next week, not a whole lot again. Wants to show another area off the coast of the southeast once again, and then off the coast of the mid-Atlantic. So the GFS is pretty consistent with showing some of these areas getting developed, but I'm definitely not too certain about this area here. So main things to watch this week and next week is just some storm activity across the central U.S. and rain chances across the western and parts of the eastern U.S. But overall, the southeast and parts of the eastern U.S. will be dry as we head into the weekend. So what will temperature anomalies look like as we get into this week and next week? So still we have below average temperatures across quite a bit of the eastern U.S. and central U.S. as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday. Those still start to fade a little bit as we get further east, but we also have some below average temperatures in the western U.S. and a decent sized area of above average temperatures into the central U.S. as we get into Wednesday, Thursday. Going into this weekend, Friday, Saturday, still below average temperatures are expected to hang around across the East Coast and parts of the West Coast as well. As we get into Monday, Tuesday next week, probably a good bit of the north central U.S. will be above average, but the eastern and western U.S. will probably be around average or a little below average for this time of year. So that'll be it for today's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great week.